I opened a credit card statement that came to our house by mistake, a credit card I didn't know existed. When I looked at the charges, I saw monthly payments to the same person for years, my husband's ex-wife. He'd been secretly sending her our money for 5 years, and I had no idea. My name is Karen, and I'm 30 years old. I've been married to my husband, David, for 7 years. We live in a small house in a suburb outside of Denver, Colorado. We don't have children yet, but we've been talking about starting a family soon. David is 33 and works as a sales manager for a medical supply company. I'm a registered nurse at a local hospital, working 3 12-hour shifts a week. We've built our life together from scratch. When we got married, neither of us had much money. We rented a tiny apartment for the first 3 years, saved everything we could, and finally bought our first house 4 years ago. It's modest, a 3-bedroom ranch that needed work, but it's ours. We've been fixing it up slowly, room by room, doing as much as we can ourselves to save money. Money has always been tight but manageable. We both work hard. We budget carefully. We don't take expensive vacations or buy luxury items. Every dollar has a purpose. We're saving for the future, for the family we want to start, for the life we're building together. Or at least that's what I thought we were doing. David was married once before he met me. His first wife's name is Linda. They got married when he was 25, right after he finished his business degree. The marriage lasted about 3 years before they divorced. No children. When David and I started dating, he was completely upfront about his past marriage. He said it had ended badly, that Linda had been difficult to deal with, that the divorce had been messy but was finally over. He said they'd settled everything and gone their separate ways. He rarely talked about her after that. I assumed she was just part of his past, someone who no longer had any connection to our lives. I was completely wrong. Everything fell apart on a Tuesday afternoon in September. I'd worked the day shift at the hospital, 7 in the morning until 7 at night. I got home exhausted around 7:30. David had texted me earlier saying he had to work late, that he'd be home around 9. I changed into comfortable clothes, made myself some dinner, and sat down with the mail I'd grabbed from the mailbox on my way in. Bills, mostly. Electric, water, internet, a few pieces of junk mail, and then an envelope that caught my attention, a credit card statement from a bank I didn't recognize. It was addressed to David. We'd always had a policy of complete financial transparency. We opened each other's mail. We shared passwords to all our accounts. We reviewed our budget together every month. No secrets. That was the foundation of our marriage, or so I believed. I opened the envelope without thinking twice about it. Inside was a credit card statement for an account in David's name only. That was the first thing that struck me as odd. All our credit cards were joint accounts. We'd opened them together when we got married. We'd never needed separate cards. The second thing I noticed was the balance, $14,000. My heart started pounding. $14,000 on a credit card I didn't even know existed. I started scanning through the list of charges. Gas stations near David's office, a few restaurants, some purchases at Home Depot, probably supplies for the house repairs we'd been doing. Nothing unusual there. But then I saw something that made me feel sick. A recurring payment, same date every month, same amount, $800. The payment was listed as a transfer to L. Morrison, Linda Morrison, David's ex-wife. I stared at that line on the statement for what felt like forever. $800, every single month, to his ex-wife. I flipped to the previous month's statement, which was also in the envelope. Same payment, $800 to L. Morrison. My hands started shaking. I grabbed my laptop from the coffee table and logged into our online banking. We had one checking account and one savings account, both joint accounts that I checked regularly. But now I was looking for something else. Other accounts. Accounts I didn't know about. I found them. 3 more credit cards in David's name only. I clicked on each one and pulled up the statements. And there it was on every single one. The same monthly payment. $800 to Linda Morrison. I felt like I was going to be sick. I did the math in my head. $800 a month. 12 months a year. I started looking at the dates on the online statements, going back as far as the records would show. The payments went back 5 years. 5 years of $800 every single month. That was $48,000. $48,000 that David had secretly sent to his ex-wife while we were married, while we were struggling to save for a down payment on our house, while we were eating ramen and skipping vacations so we could put money away for our future, while I was working overtime shifts at the hospital to help make ends meet. $48,000. I sat on our couch staring at my laptop screen, feeling like my entire world was collapsing. This wasn't just about money. This was about trust. This was about honesty. This was about the fact that my husband had been lying to me every single day for 5 years. I thought about all the times we'd sat down together to review our budget, all the times we'd talked about our financial goals, all the times I'd felt guilty for buying myself a new pair of shoes or going out to lunch with a friend because I thought we needed to save every penny. And the whole time, David had been sending $800 a month to his ex-wife. I heard David's car pull into the driveway around 9:15. I was still sitting on the couch, surrounded by the credit card statements I'd printed out. All the evidence of his secret financial life laid out on our coffee table. He walked in through the front door, loosening his tie, looking tired. "Hey, babe. Sorry I'm so late. The meeting with the distributor ran way longer than I thought." I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. He noticed my expression, and immediately his face changed. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" "Sit down," I said quietly. He looked at the papers spread out on the coffee table, and I saw it. The moment he realized what I'd found, his face went pale. He stood frozen in the doorway. "Karen, I can explain." "Sit down," I repeated. He sat down on the chair across from me, not next to me on the couch like he normally would. There was suddenly a physical distance between us that felt enormous. "How long have you known?" he asked quietly. "I found the statement about an hour ago," I said. "How long have you been doing this?" He didn't answer right away. He just sat there, staring at his hands. 5 years, I said, answering my own question. "You've been sending your ex-wife $800 a month for 5 years, while we were saving for our house, while we were struggling to make ends meet. While I was working extra shifts and we were cutting every corner we could, you were sending her $48,000. "It's not what you think," he said. "Then tell me what it is," I said. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been lying to me about our finances for our entire marriage. It looks like you've opened secret credit cards and hidden bank accounts. It looks like you've been putting your ex-wife ahead of your actual wife." "She needed help," David said. "When we got divorced, things were really bad financially. She didn't have a job. She didn't have savings. I felt responsible." "You felt responsible?" I said. "David, you've been divorced from her for 8 years. You've been married to me for 7. At what point does your responsibility to her end and your responsibility to me begin?" "It's complicated," he said. "No, it's not complicated," I said, my voice rising. "You made a choice. Every single month for 5 years, you made a choice to send her money that should have been going toward our life together. You made a choice to hide it from me. You made a choice to lie to me." "I didn't want to lie to you," he said. "But I knew if I told you, you'd be upset. You wouldn't understand." "You're right, I don't understand," I said. I don't understand why your ex-wife has been more important to you than your actual wife. I don't understand why you thought it was okay to keep this from me. I don't understand how you could look me in the eye every day and pretend everything was fine when you were hiding something this huge. Linda was in a bad situation, David said. After the divorce, she couldn't find steady work. She was living paycheck to paycheck. She reached out to me a few months after we got married, asking if I could help her out temporarily, just until she got back on her feet. A few months after we got married, I repeated. So you've been doing this almost since the beginning of our marriage? He nodded. And it was supposed to be temporary, but it's been 5 years. She kept having problems, he said. She'd lose a job, or her car would break down, or she'd have medical bills. Every time I tried to stop sending the money, something would happen and she'd need help again. So you just kept sending it, I said, for 5 years, without ever telling me, without ever discussing it with me, even though we're supposed to be partners, even though we're supposed to make financial decisions together. I knew you'd say no, he admitted. I knew you'd tell me I needed to cut her off. But I felt guilty, Karen. The divorce was partly my fault. I wasn't a good husband to her. I worked too much. I wasn't there for her emotionally. When the marriage fell apart, I felt like I owed her something. So you've been paying penance for 5 years, I said, with our money. Money that should have gone toward our house, our future, maybe starting a family. You gave it all to her instead. Not all of it, he said weakly. $48,000, David. Do you have any idea what we could have done with $48,000? We could have paid off our student loans. We could have finished renovating the house. We could have saved it for when we have kids. Instead, it went to your ex-wife while we struggled. We weren't struggling, he said. We were fine. We were fine because I was working overtime, I said. We were fine because we never went on vacation. We were fine because I felt guilty every time I spent money on myself. And the whole time, you were sending $800 a month to Linda. He didn't have a response to that. Does she even need the money? I asked. Does she have a job now? Is she actually in trouble, or have you just been supporting her for 5 years out of guilt? David looked down. She has a job. She's been working as an office manager for about 3 years now. 3 years, I said. So for the last 3 years, you've been sending money to someone who doesn't even need it anymore. Someone who has a job and can support herself. She says the money helps her, he said. She says she's still catching up from the years when she wasn't working. And you believed her, I said. Or maybe you didn't care if it was true. Maybe you just wanted to keep sending the money so you could feel better about yourself. That's not fair, he said. None of this is fair, I shot back. What's not fair is that I've been working myself to exhaustion thinking we were building a life together, while you were secretly funding your ex-wife's life. What's not fair is that you lied to me for 5 years. What's not fair is that you thought your guilt about a failed marriage was more important than your current marriage. We sat in silence for a long moment. I could feel tears building up behind my eyes, but I refused to cry in front of him. I was too angry to cry. What do you want me to do? David finally asked. I want you to tell me the truth about everything, I said. How much debt are we in because of these credit cards? What else have you been hiding from me? He took a deep breath. The 4 credit cards total about $52,000 in debt. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. $52,000? How is that even possible? The payments to Linda were $48,000 over 5 years. Interest, he said quietly. And I've been making minimum payments on the cards. The balance has been growing. So not only have you been sending money to your ex-wife, but you've been racking up credit card debt with interest, I said. Debt that's in your name, But that affects both of us. Debt that will prevent us from getting a mortgage if we ever want to move, or a car loan, or anything else. I'm sorry, he said. I know I messed up. I'll stop sending her money. I'll pay off the cards. I'll fix this. How? I asked. How are you going to pay off $52,000 in credit card debt? That's going to take years, David. Years of paying high interest. Years of our money going toward cleaning up this mess you made. I'll figure it out, he said. We'll figure it out, I corrected him, because that's what marriage is supposed to be. We're supposed to figure things out together. But you didn't give me that chance. You made these decisions on your own, and now we're both paying the price. He started crying. I know, I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. I never meant to hurt you. But you did hurt me, I said. You hurt me by lying. You hurt me by putting Linda ahead of me. You hurt me by making me feel like we were partners when really, you were making all the important decisions on your own. What do you want me to do? He asked again, his voice breaking. Tell me how to fix this. I don't know if you can fix this, I said honestly. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Every time you said you were working late, every time you checked your phone and stepped into another room, every time we sat down to talk about money, you were lying to me. How am I supposed to get past that? I'll do anything, he said. I'll go to counseling. I'll cut all contact with Linda. I'll give you access to everything. I'll be completely transparent from now on. From now on, I repeated. That's the problem, David. It should have been from the beginning. You should have told me about this before we got married. You should have told me when Linda first asked for money. You should have told me every single month when you sent that payment. You had hundreds of opportunities to be honest with me, and you chose to lie every single time. I stood up. I couldn't sit there anymore. I needed space. I'm going to stay at my sister's for a few days. I need time to think about what I want to do. Don't leave, he said, standing up too. Please, let's talk about this. Let's work through it together. We can't work through it together when I don't even know who you are anymore, I said. I thought I knew you. I thought I knew what kind of person you were. But the person I married wouldn't lie to me for 5 years. The person I married wouldn't choose his ex-wife over his current wife. So I need time to figure out if I can stay married to the person you actually are. I went upstairs and packed a bag. David followed me, trying to talk to me, trying to convince me to stay. But I couldn't hear him anymore. My head was spinning. My heart was broken. I needed to get away from him so I could think clearly. I drove to my sister's apartment across town. Rachel opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside without asking any questions. I broke down crying in her living room and told her everything. She was furious on my behalf, but she also listened without judgment, letting me process everything I was feeling. I stayed with Rachel for 4 days. During that time, David called and texted constantly. I ignored most of his messages, but I did respond to one text where he asked if I was okay. I told him I was fine, that I needed space, and that I'd talk to him when I was ready. On the 3rd day, I called Linda. I'd found her number in David's phone records when I was going through all the credit card statements. I knew I needed to hear her side of the story, needed to understand what had been going on between them. She answered on the 2nd ring. Hello? Linda, this is Karen, David's wife. There was a long pause. Oh, hi. I found out about the money David's been sending you, I said. I want to know why. I want to know why you've been taking money from a married man for 5 years. I didn't ask him to do it forever, she said defensively. When I first asked for help, I was in a really bad place. I'd just lost my job. I was about to lose my apartment. David offered to help me temporarily until I got back on my feet. That was 5 years ago, I said. You have a job now. Why are you still taking his money? He kept offering, she said. Every month the money would show up. I never asked him to keep sending it. But my finances are still tight, and the extra money helps. I figured if he wanted to keep helping me, that was his choice. Did you know he was hiding it from me? I asked. She hesitated. I suspected. He never talked about you. He never mentioned telling you about the payments. I guess I didn't want to ask because I didn't want the money to stop. So you knew, I said. You knew he was lying to his wife, and you just kept taking the money anyway. Look, I'm sorry, she said. I didn't set out to cause problems in your marriage, but David and I were married for 3 years. We have history, and when he offered to help me, I took the help. That's all there is to it. History, I repeated. You've been divorced for 8 years. At some point, that history should stop mattering. At some point, he should have moved on and focused on his current wife instead of his ex-wife. That's between you and him, Linda said. I didn't force him to send me money. He made that choice on his own. She was right about that. David had made the choice. Over and over again, for 5 years, he'd chosen to send her money instead of being honest with me. The money stops now, I told her. Whatever arrangement you two had, it's over. Don't contact him asking for money again. If you do, I'll consider it harassment. Fine, she said. Like I said, I never asked him to keep sending it this long anyway. I hung up feeling angry and empty. Linda wasn't the villain in this story, even though part of me wanted her to be. She was just someone who'd taken advantage of David's guilt and his inability to set boundaries. The real problem was David, his choices, his lies. On the 4th day, I went back home. David was there, looking like he hadn't slept in days. The house was cleaner than I'd ever seen it, like he'd been stress cleaning the entire time I was gone. We need to talk, I said. We sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten hundreds of meals together, where we'd planned our future, where we'd made decisions as a team, or at least where I'd thought we were making decisions as a team. I called Linda, I said. I wanted to hear her side of the story. David's eyes widened. You talked to her? Yes, and I told her the money stops now. No more payments. That chapter of your life is closed. Okay, he said. I should have done that years ago. I know that now. I've been thinking a lot over the past few days, I said, about our marriage, about whether I can stay with you after this, and I still don't have an answer. What do you need from me? He asked. What can I do to prove that I'm committed to fixing this? First, complete transparency, I said. Every account, every password, every financial detail. No more secrets. Done, he said immediately. Second, marriage counseling. We need help working through this because I can't do it on my own. I'll call a therapist tomorrow, he said. Third, you need to create a plan to pay off all this debt, $52,000. I want to see a real plan with real numbers and a realistic timeline. I'll do it, he said. And fourth, I said, you need to figure out why you did this. Why you felt like you owed Linda more than you owed me. Why you were willing to lie to me for 5 years to protect her feelings. Because until you understand that about yourself, I can't trust that you won't do something like this again. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I'll do all of it. I promise. I know I don't deserve another chance, but if you're willing to give me one, I'll spend the rest of my life making this right. I'm not promising I'm giving you another chance, I said. I'm promising I'm willing to try counseling and see if this marriage is salvageable. But if I find out you've lied to me about anything else, if there are any more secrets, I'm done. No second chances, no more discussions. I'm just done. There's nothing else, he said. I swear to you this is it. No more secrets. I wanted to believe him. Part of me still loved him, still remembered the man I'd married, the man I'd built a life with. But another part of me wondered if that man had ever really existed, or if I'd just been seeing what I wanted to see. The next few months were the hardest of my life. We started marriage counseling with a therapist who specialized in betrayal and rebuilding trust. The sessions were brutal. David had to face the reality of what he'd done, had to understand how profoundly he'd betrayed me. I had to face my own feelings, my anger, my hurt, my fear that I'd never be able to trust him again. David cut off all contact with Linda. He sent her one final message explaining that he wouldn't be sending money anymore and that he needed to focus on his marriage. She didn't respond. The monthly payment stopped. We created a debt repayment plan. Between both our incomes, we calculated that we could pay off the $52,000 in about 4 years if we were aggressive about it. That meant no vacations, no big purchases, no eating out at restaurants. Every extra dollar would go toward the debt. It was going to be hard, but it was the only way forward. David gave me access to everything. All his accounts, all his passwords, all his financial information. He showed me his phone records, his emails, everything. He was completely transparent, almost to the point of being obsessive about it. He wanted to prove that he had nothing to hide anymore. But here's the thing about trust. Once it's broken, it's almost impossible to fully rebuild. Even with all of David's transparency, even with all the counseling, even with all his promises and apologies, I found myself constantly questioning everything. Every time he was late coming home from work, I wondered if he was lying. Every time his phone buzzed, I wondered what he was hiding. Every time we had a discussion about money, I wondered if he was telling me the whole truth. Our therapist told me that this was normal, that rebuilding trust after a betrayal like this takes years, not months. She said that David needed to be patient with my suspicion and my need for reassurance. She said that I needed to be willing to slowly let my guard down and give him opportunities to prove himself. It's been 8 months now since I found that credit card statement. 8 months of therapy, of difficult conversations, of slowly trying to rebuild what was broken. David has kept every promise he made. He's been completely transparent. He's worked hard to pay down the debt. He's shown up to every therapy session and done the work. But I still don't know if I can fully forgive him. I still don't know if our marriage will survive this. Some days I look at him and I see the man I fell in love with, the man I married, the man I want to build a future with. Other days I look at him and all I see is the person who lied to me for 5 years, who chose his ex-wife over me, who betrayed my trust in the deepest possible way. We've put off trying to have a baby. That was something we'd been planning to start this year, but now it feels impossible. How can I bring a child into a marriage that might not survive? How can I commit to raising a child with someone I'm not sure I can trust? My friends and family have mixed opinions about what I should do. Some think I should leave him, that the betrayal is too big to get past, that I deserve better than a man who would lie to me for years. Others think I should give him another chance, that everyone makes mistakes, that he's working hard to make things right. But the truth is, this isn't about what anyone else thinks. This is about what I can live with. This is about whether I can look at David 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and not feel that pit in my stomach when I think about what he did. I don't have the answer yet. Maybe I will in 6 months, maybe in a year, maybe never. All I know is that I'm taking it one day at a time, trying to figure out if the man sitting across from me at therapy every week is someone I want to spend the rest of my life with. My name is Karen. I'm 30 years old. I discovered that my husband had been secretly sending money to his ex-wife for 5 years. $48,000 that should have been ours. 5 years of lies that destroyed the foundation of our marriage. I don't know yet if our marriage will survive this. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust him again. I don't know if love is enough to overcome a betrayal this big. But I know I'm stronger than I thought I was. I know I have the courage to face hard truths and make difficult decisions. And I know that whatever happens, I'll be okay. With or without him, I'll be okay. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship I have is with myself. And I refuse to betray myself by staying in a marriage that doesn't honor me, that doesn't respect me, that doesn't treat me like the partner I deserve to be. David has a chance to prove himself. But it's just a chance, not a guarantee. And if he can't rise to the occasion, if he can't show me that I'm his priority, if he can't rebuild the trust he destroyed, then I'll walk away. Because I deserve better than secrets. I deserve better than lies. I deserve a partner who chooses me every single day without hesitation. And if David can't be that partner, then I'll find my own way forward. Alone if I have to. But free.